Greetings, peeps. I hope everyone is having a good semester so far. I know all of you have had some questions about these podcasts that are supposed to be coming up. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we have not been able to do them on the schedule that you see on our detailed course schedule. I will adjust that, but this first podcast that you're about to see is actually a recast of an earlier podcast, actually just sections of it. The way these podcasts are supposed to work is this. You watch a performance of an artist that I have recorded previously. You watch the performance, then you come up with 3 questions to ask the artist. And then that is going to be presented to the artist by me in a podcast interview that you will also have the opportunity to view. So, that's the way it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, this first podcast is not like that. This first podcast is really just you getting into the idea of what's going on. So what we're going to do is watch this short 2 performances of a recast, okay? You're not going to need to ask any questions to the artist, that is. We will have a discussion topic about what you have seen. But there are some specific questions for you as you're watching and listening to these performances. So just watch the upcoming vid. Pay attention to, you're going to see me again. I think it's the same jacket, but a different tie. Think about what I'm asking you to do in this segment. And then at some point in the very near future, most likely this week, there'll be another discussion topic open specifically about what you're watching. And we'll talk about it in that discussion topic, what we've listened to, what we've seen. But before you watch, let me explain something to you. We've already talked about, what is a work of art, and I think we've all come to the same conclusion that could mean many different things. Now I'm going to ask you to look ahead. Look at chapters 3 and chapters 4 and chapters 5. Now I'm not asking you to do the readings or the questions ahead of time. Those you can keep on the schedule. But I'm asking you to look into chapters 3, 4, and 5. 3 really, being a critic of the arts is subjective. But I do want you to look at it simply because it's necessary for you to be able to critique in a certain way, and you're critiquing works of art. And that critiquing skill goes beyond what our textbook has, right? I mean, think about it. When you view works of art yourself or listen to music, you're going to critique it. Obviously, we have different tastes. We have different likes, and so we're going to critique what we see and what we hear. And I don't want you to change that, but I do want you to look ahead into chapters 4 and 5 in particular, painting and sculpture, because as you'll hear, I'm going to ask you to relate the music that you're listening to a work of art. Now, you may not be able to do that, and that's okay, but I want you to view the works of art. You don't have to do the readings ahead of time, just look at the works of art, both painting and sculpture, so chapters 4 and chapters 5, and see if you can draw any correlations. And if you can't draw any correlations to the works of art, paintings, and sculpture that we have in our online text in chapters 4 and 5, maybe you've seen artwork elsewhere and you can relate it to that, or sculpture elsewhere. Or maybe it's not a work of art at all that you can relate this to. Maybe it's something completely different that you think of. That's the type of thing that we want to bring up in our discussion topics. Again, it's merely asking you to draw correlations between works of art. It's not asking you to necessarily like what you're listening to or like what you're looking at. It's merely seeing if you can make any sort of connections between the two works of art. So, okay, here we go. There's a short segment where I'm, of course, droning on and on about something, and then we get into the two performances. So please, have a listen. Think about what you want to talk about. Think about what it means to you. Think about the correlations that you can or cannot draw between a painting and what you're listening to, or a sculpture and what you're listening to. Okay, folks, we'll be talking soon. Take a look at that by examining some musical examples. And this is where the podcasts come in. This is a rebroadcast that we're going to be looking at, actually two rebroadcasts of two musical works of art. And so the first of these is that you're going to be watching and listening to is the Delta College Chamber Choir. And they're going to be performing a work entitled Ave Verum Corpus by the composer William Byrd. And then the second example is from another vocal ensemble called Vire Sacre Cantores. And they're going to be performing another work by it's similar genre called Jesu Dulcis Memoria. And it's actually this work of art is based on a chant mode, right, from Gregorian chant. So what I want you to do is consider the paintings that are displayed to us in chapter 4 and the sculpture that's displayed to us in chapter 5. And then consider these sculptures and these paintings, and as you're listening to these works, can you relate any of the paintings or any of the sculptures and or to what you're listening to? Think about it. Watch the work going on, watch the recordings, and then in your mind replay, okay, well, I saw this painting that kind of reminds me of. And you may not, and it's okay if you don't. It's perfectly fine if you don't. But if you do, tell me what it is. If you don't, say so. I don't see any correlation between any of the works of art. Again, I remind you, there is no right or wrong here. And then, the second vid, this is the Vire Sacre Cantores performing the Jesu Dulcis Memoria. It shows in that particular example, there is interjected some visual imagery of the stained glass windows where the recording was made. Take a look at those and see if you can draw any correlations to the art that you've been looking at. Does it fit the music? Does it go with the music? Because often, here we go, the visual arts, the performing arts, works with your mind as well as your eyes and your ears, right? What you see is affected by what you hear, and what you hear can be affected by what you see. And sometimes you've noticed this, I'm sure, in the cinematography that you yourself have witnessed. We go to watch a film, and often the music can make or break the film. Sometimes the music is in direct correlation with what we're watching, and sometimes it is not. It's the complete opposite. So, but yet it works. The two are wedded together and it works. So take a look at these, listen to these. Now again, this fulfills the podcast requirement, okay? So understand, this is a rebroadcast. We will have a discussion topic following this that I'm going to ask you these same questions. What did you hear? Did you see any correlations between what we witnessed so far? Okay, folks? So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy, and I look forward to seeing your answers.
Love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? There's nothing too good for a girl that's so true. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you? I bought you a fur coat for Christmas, a diamond ring, a Cadillac car, and everything. Love makes me treat you the way that I do. Gee, baby, ain't I good to you?